Hey guys, really excited to be joined by Damien here today. Now, Damien is known in the industry for quite a few different companies and been around for quite a while. So I'll let you do your own intro because I feel like it's quite hard to summarize it.
Alex, thank you very much for having me. It's so nice to see you, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, Damien Greathead. I've worn a number of shirts in my career in the accounting industry. I don't think I intended on working exclusively in the accounting industry, but from a very brief career in an accounting firm through to my time at Receipt Bank, leading the US operation there, I then moved to Practice Ignition as I headed back to Australia, then on to Intuit QuickBooks. I was there for 4 years, leading the accountants program down there, and now I'm out on my own, doing a couple of different things that are both tapping into, I think, all of that experience. So doing a little bit of work with firms, doing a little bit of work with tech companies, and then also creating our own tech company as well, which is something I'm pretty excited about.
So there's 3 points.
Yes,
yeah, 3 points that you hit me with. So shall we start with how has it been going out on your own? Do you feel you enjoyed that experience so far?
I've loved the experience, and I think what it has really enabled is a level of creativity and creative thinking that I hadn't really been able to do. Because when you're selling QuickBooks, that's you just think in this green paradigm, and how do we get as much QuickBooks into the accounting industry as possible? Whereas now, 3 different businesses, 3 different business models, and 3 different ways of going to market, 3 different audiences, 3 different ICPs. So it's that's actually been challenging, but also really rewarding because you've been able to tap into all the different pieces of experience.
And I am sure your experience leading up to that with kind of QuickBooks, Receipt Bank, and Ignition in different countries, Australia, US, has only helped what you're doing now, right?
Yeah.
You've been there, you've experienced stuff on the ground in different countries.
And I've worked with firms, I've worked with tech companies, I've worked in accounting. So I've seen the challenges that firms have in implementing technology. I've seen the challenges that technology companies have selling and marketing to accountants. And I've worked in an accounting firm, so while not an accountant, or a very good one anyway, I can at least talk their language, and I understand the workflow, and I understand their pain points. So again, I think it's this real synergy of those past experiences.
But you also understand that between the US and Australia and the UK, to extent.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen you all over the globe, and you've had time in different roles there. So that must only pay dividends now when you kind of. Well, let's touch on it. We're in America right now. We're in Orlando.
Yeah, and I've got my Money Penny shirt.
So tell me about why you're there, kind of what you're doing, and the vision behind helping them grow.
So Moneypenny is a traditional tax and accounting outsourcing operation. We do the tax and accounting for US and Canadian firms, and our team is based in Chennai, India. That team in Chennai is the largest female-owned and operated accounting firm in India. And I was in Chennai just recently, and I saw the difference that this workplace is having on the lives of 80 women, 80 qualified accountants, 80 degreed accountants, chartered accountants, CPAs, etc. I saw the difference that this business is having on their lives. There's a creche downstairs, so the kids come to work as well. They don't do overtime. If they work past sundown, they get driven home. And it's really focused on Namila and Shamila, the 2 partners there, and Penny here in the United States, really focused on giving opportunity to professional women and giving them a career path.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, once they get married, once they have children, and enabling them to come back into a workplace that really supports their family first mentality. So that feels like it's a part of something more important than just trying to flog some technology.
And I guess for me and you, we are more than ever, like we are seeing that, making sure women are valued in this industry. But in the UK and Australia, it's even more further on that journey now. Having that in India must be kind of groundbreaking in some respects, and not heard of, and be a jealousy of people who want to work there almost, because it's so groundbreaking.
It's sort of interesting that the average tenure of the firm is in the 6 and 7 years, which I think is unheard of in Indian outsourcing operations. And so I think the average tenure in Indian outsourcing operations about 18 months to 2 years, but we're hitting 6 and 7 years. And I think most importantly, they're coming back from when they have children and when they've finished their maternity leave, they're coming back into the workforce, because we are literally one of the only employers that that supports that and actually promotes it. So yeah, it's inspiring. Actually.
Was that your first time?
First time in India.
Oh, okay.
First time in India. So that
First time and then seeing that level.
and then seeing that.
That's got to be two culture shocks always.
And you know, like just seeing them that they're able at lunchtime to pop down and see their kids and play with their kids and that connection to family, connection to professional development. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool.
And what's your role there? What are you doing?
So I'm doing sales and marketing role, like a fractional sales and marketing role. The company has grown predominantly through word of mouth and through referrals. So we're trying to bring a little bit more structure to that. We're also trying to shift the focus away from the traditional tax and accounting. So, on the trade show floor there and in the different sessions, AI is coming for the routine, the regular, the mundane. And that's no different in an outsourced accounting firm. So we've got to look at how we're transitioning that business. So those 80 women, and it'll soon be 90 women, so they're still actively employed and still have meaningful careers as well. So that's the other side of it and one of the other businesses that we're working on, which is a wonderful segue, Alex,
Thank you.
is to this concept of pre-flight labs, because our team, they work with more than 310 apps. They work with all the tax software. They work with all the GLs. They work with all the practice management tools. And what that means is they have this incredibly unique perspective about workflow, about integrations, about UI experience. And so now this pre-flight labs concept is about helping tech companies build better accounting apps for their clients.
So tell me more about it. Obviously, we've kind of segued into pre-flight labs. That's the second one we're talking about again. Is that you leading on your own? How was the idea come about? Just tell us more.
Well, we're working in conjunction with Penny again, but we needed to have a different name, a different value proposition, because our customer is completely different. So a couple of different examples that we're doing. It was an Australian company that wants to move to the US, bring their product to the US. So we're helping translate it. We're helping to translate it from Australian English into American English, from GAP to IFAs, or the other way around, helping the Australian company understand about US sales tax, which is vastly different to Australian sales tax. So that's one of the examples what we're doing. Another example, we work in a general ledger, and any new feature, any new integration, they move a button, we test it before it rolled out into general population. And that's actually been a really important part of their customer experience, because even at Intuit, we would roll the beta out to 40 random customers, and they'd have this really challenging experience of a new feature that wasn't quite ready for prime time. But now this pre-flight labs, we can actually do the testing for them. So if they've got a new integration, or alternatively, they've got a new feature, typically when you change code, there's a knock-on effect somewhere down the line. So we go through, we test, we identify any bugs, we identify any user interface experience, and then also, how does it actually work with all of the other technology pieces? How does this piece now work with a Carbon, with a Taxstone, with a Canopy? We're able to bring that unique perspective, because in our accounting firm, we use Carbon, Taxstone, Canopy. The list goes on and on.
So by having, you almost have that market research built in there.
Yeah, exactly. It's a testing ground. Yeah.
So you guys are helping apps kind of just move countries, improve their products, and just become better to serve accountants day to day.
And then even some applications, they've had a small business or an end user experience, and now they're trying to build an accounting experience. So to access an accountant's channel, and they often don't know where to start. So we will help them in terms of connecting them with key people in the industry, helping them understand what happens in an accounting firm, help them understand the debits and the credits. And as you know, debits to the window, credits to the wall, and that's really foreign to developers.
With talent shortages continuing to challenge firms, the .HQ helps your business scale through dedicated offshore professionals who work exclusively for you. From accounting and bookkeeping to audit and admin, Dot's offshore support gives you the capacity, consistency, and confidence to grow.
So you're doing that based out of Australia, and you've got the team there?
We got Sydney, San Diego, and the team in Chennai when we're doing the actual testing, or often the tech companies are doing workplace observations. So they're seeing how our accountants use the different applications, helping them understand the workflows. So between San Diego, Megan, she's in Houston, I'm in Sydney, and we've got the team in India as well.
And how long have you been doing that for? So how long has that been?
So we launched officially probably at the start of this year, but we've had a couple of clients sort of on the boil for a couple of years now.
And I guess that's grown out of your passion of kind of just being in the industry and working with all these other apps. And you know what it's like when you're at Dex, Ignition, whatever, you're connecting with so many other apps in the industry.
Yeah.
The knowledge of them, you speak to the accounts on the show floors, you speak to them in their offices. And I guess it just comes with all that knowledge of experience you've built.
And the theory is that these companies can hopefully fast forward their development, fast forward their go-to-market. You know, just even having a knowledge of who are the important publishers, who are the important trade associations, what are the events you need to go to, how do you maximize events? So we also can offer that go-to-market element as well, if they're looking for that.
And have you worked with companies in the UK doing that, or is it mainly just Australia, US you've been doing?
Yeah, we've worked with UK companies that are moving into the US. We've worked with Australian companies moving to the US, and then we've worked with US companies that are building that accounting product or an accountant-facing platform. Yeah.
So if you've not got anything to play,
Yep.
I also bumped into you in Sydney earlier this year.
Yes.
Which was a very exciting time
Yeah.
for you guys. Tell me more. What did you launch in Sydney this year?
So we actually decided to get into the technology game ourselves. So a couple of accountants that I worked very closely with at Intuit, he built this app that was designed about helping him manage the subscriptions that he pays for on behalf of his clients. And I said, across Dext, across QuickBooks, across Xero, I know that's a massive problem. And so he said, do you want to get on board and help me build it and help take it to market? And I said, absolutely. So we built a company called Twine Apps.
Yep.
And then Twine Apps is sort of like this umbrella company that we're going, the idea is that we'll build micro apps that solve small problems in the back office of accounting firms or the back office of small businesses, that the accounting function within those. So our first one is this subscription management. And we're literally just coming out of beta. We've got our QBO marketplace is about to go live. Our Xero marketplace is just around the corner. So yeah, it's the excitement, the frustration, the highs, the lows. I mean, you know yourselves, you're so close to the software community. We're about to go live. So I think we should be ready for purchase on July 1st or the start of the new financial year in Australia.
And is that going global from day one, or you're kind of focusing on the
I think we're going to be global from day one. We've been talking to firms around the world. We've got firms from around the world on the beta product. And I think early on in my Receipt Bank days, you are, if you've got a website, if you've got a global network, which I do have, then yeah, we're global from day one. So, and interestingly, whether it's Canada, the US, Australia, the UK, Ireland, Singapore, similar problems for accounting firms when they purchase the software on behalf of their clients. Managing it becomes a real pain in the you-know-what. So yeah, so we're trying to alleviate that pain, put a bit more money back in their pockets, and I think deliver a better experience for both the firm and their end user customer.
I guess it's a year hitting on the head experience, so I guess you're excited by the kind of gap, the feel, how it looks,
yes,
just the usability of it.
Yep.
And I guess you've had a good say in that with the team that you're building. And
I mean, what's also really interesting is it's wonderful working with accountants. Trent and Tish, they live the problem. They live and breathe the problem. I understood what QuickBooks did, and I understood what Ignition did, and I understand the role of it. But I don't have that lived experience that Trent and Tish do. And so being able to be that close to the lived experience, and then how do we build a product that fixes that? Yeah, it's really exciting.
And then I guess that's where you come in, is like, well, I know how to take this to market. I know how to take this conversations.
Well, yeah, sort of like I feel like the hard work's been done now. Now we just got to, if you build it, they will come. But unfortunately, it's not that simple, no.
So are people going to see you anywhere this year? Any events coming up to watch out for?
I think we've got to watch. QuickBooks Connect is probably one that I always like to get to. I like to get to the Digital CPA. I think is in California this year, and I think maybe not this year, but I think we'd be looking to bring Twine Apps to Accountex next year. I think.
I guess the UK one you're
referring to. The UK one, yes, in the UK, and Digital Accountancy Show in the UK as well.
So obviously, I was going to kind of talk on a few points. Outside of that, in the accounting space, you have been on the coalface for so long and know it. What is the big problem you see right now? So I know you spoke about the subscription side of things, but what is the big problem you're seeing in the accounting industry now, and how do we solve it?
I think one of the big challenges that we're seeing in the industry at the moment is just what is AI and what is AI's role in the accounting firm. And even being here at Scaling New Heights, you've got a very broad spectrum of first of all, people's understanding of what it is and what it isn't, and then also people's experience with it. And I think this time last year, most people had sort of opened ChatGPT. This time, most people are using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is on some sort of regular basis to help with certain tasks. But now we're starting to see what AI agents can do in accounting, and also what AI agents can't do in accounting. And I think that's probably where the real maybe not smoke and mirrors, but that's where the real opportunity for clarity is, because I think there's a lot of apps coming to market promising the world, but as it turns out, they promise the world for a very narrow slither of the market at this stage. I think it's rapidly changing, rapidly evolving, and in 6 months' time, it'll be quite different. But I think that's a real challenge for practitioners. Not only do they have to navigate the legislative changes and tax code, whether that's in Australia, the UK, or the US here, but they now have to become really quite power users of the technology, because at the same time, their clients are also becoming power users of AI as well. You know, when cloud and Xero and QBO and all that sort of stuff came to the world, it was very isolated that this was pretty much an accountant's problem for them to get their heads around. But at Moneypenny, we probably had our most challenging tax season, because the clients, the business clients of our accounting firms, they're all using AI in their day-to-day. Their lives are getting faster. The rate of processing is becoming quicker for whatever business they're in. So they're having the same expectations on their accountants. So the accountants navigating the legislative changes and understanding that, but then also navigating the technology and specifically those AI changes that feel like they're happening every week. And I think that's becoming a little bit exhausting and a little bit challenging for them to keep up on both fronts.
Create capacity and scale with confidence through dedicated offshore professionals from the .HQ.
I think that's a record of a podcast not mentioning AI for the first for at least the last 15 minutes.
I talked about me for the entire 15 minutes.
So we managed to get AI in there, which is great. But I think you're right. And I think the thing is with AI, people are more using their day-to-day lives in the accounting firm. So they're expecting that and expecting things to accelerate in the business.
But also they're asking AI the questions that they might have asked their accountant, or they're asking both.
Yeah.
So even the number of times I've heard people threw their information into Claude to do their 1040, and it came out, whether it was right or wrong, I don't know, but now that's at people's fingertips. And so accountants have to respond to that and handle that as well.
I think there's going to really need to be an education piece about AI being powerful, but you still need the expertise and human touch
and that review that sits behind it. Yeah,
I think that's really hard because some people's gone in these days and kind of type stuff in. But I think you've got to have that education piece. But I think that's where accountants are going to have to start actually educating their own kind of their clients.
Yeah, agreed. And I think also technology vendors, I think sort of take a step back, and you don't have to automate everything. You don't have to take it one step at a time. Slow it down for the accountant, because I think that will greatly enhance their adoption and their willingness to test and try these new tools. But this constant barrage of automated close and autonomous close, and I think it's a little bit overwhelming. But you're right. All of that still needs to be reviewed. The tax return still needs to be reviewed. The books still need to be reviewed. That's all the critical role that the accountant's going to play.
And I thought I'd ask, so you've obviously mentioned you're getting the kind of subscription apps going live. If you could build any other app in the accounting world right now and you had the ability to build it, what would you build? And what would it do?
What would I build? I think the what's really interesting at the moment is the disparate sources of information that an accountant has to deal with to process either a set of books or a tax return. And so how can you connect all of these disparate systems? It's the WhatsApp conversation, the Slack conversation, the Teams conversation, the portal where documents have been uploaded. How do you connect this? What is that interconnectivity between these apps even just the workplace observations that we do. The team's got 6 and 7 different apps open that they're going to for all their information. So it's how do you streamline that, and how do you put that agentic factor over the top that surfaces the most important information, that surfaces the key information to get this particular part of the job done. So yeah, what is that interconnectivity that enables the accountant to, I think, deliver more efficiently so that they can do something more interesting, whatever they define that as.
I've got a very US focused question
Yeah.
to nearly end with. I think I spent a lot of time, as you know, globally, UK, US, Australia, and in the last year, especially year and a half, I feel like more competitors to Xero, QuickBooks, and Sage have brought themselves out of the woodwork than ever before. I think we're a bit more used to that in the UK, because we've naturally seen that lower level, not lower level, but smaller kind of competitor below. We've got the likes of Digit, Puzzle, Kick. What do you feel the future looks like then for kind of the Xeros, your QuickBooks, the Sage, or these other kind of loads coming out there?
I think QuickBooks has the market in the US, and as someone that's seen sort of on the inside of the Intuit machine and the investment in AI and their partnerships with Claude, with Anthropic and OpenAI, they own the market. They're building, they're watching, and I think that the challenge for, say, a Digits and a Puzzle is they work for a narrow slither of the small medium-sized business segment, and no accounting firm, just very few accounting firms, work just in that narrow segment that Digits is perfect for. And so I think that's the real challenge. Is I've been a QuickBooks shop for a very long time. I know it inside out. They charge through the nose, but that's what I know, and that's what my systems and everything are built on. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to convert any of those clients to Digits because they don't do well with manufacturing, or they don't do well with logistics, or whatever it is. And so I think that's probably the challenge for them is whether or not they'll be able to last long enough to get a significant amount of market share to propel them into the future.
So I guess you kind of like, do you think you'll ever see that more equal share that we see in the UK between the kind of the big players, or do you think Intuit's going to have that market? And I think
QuickBooks is going to dominate that market. I think they might lose a little bit, but I don't think in the same way that in the UK they've done so. And I think Xero in Australia has that similar position. They might lose a little bit. I don't think they'll lose any to MYOB by any means, but based on the recent decisions for Intuit Australia, I don't think QuickBooks is going to be making any sort of major inroads into that. So I think Xero is pretty safe there. Interestingly, at that conference that I saw you at, I didn't see a lot of new entrants into that space.
No.
Whereas 10 years ago, there was a lot of new entrants coming in around the app ecosystem at what was it, ABE in Sydney. There were the incumbents, the Ignitions, the Dex, the MYOBs, etc., that have bolted on their AI, but I didn't see many AI first, AI native, or whatever they're called. I didn't see a lot of those new applications into the marketplace, which I thought was really interesting.
And that's part of the reason I thought I'd ask you here, because we've seen a lot more of it here in the US.
Yes,
So I kind of thought,
yeah.
what's your opinion on that? Like, what's your views? And great answer.
And the amount of VC money, it feels as though every VC has got to have something in the tax automation, bookkeeping automation as a part of their portfolio. So there is a lot of money fueling it. But in a similar way, like 10 years ago, the QuickBooks Connect, the Xerocon floor was very different to what the QuickBooks Connect and Xerocon floor is today. And there were 7 different competitors to Dext, for example. But now there's sort of 2 and 3. It's really consolidated. So I think right now we're enjoying this great pace of innovation and new entrants into the market, which I think is pushing everyone to be better, including Digits, Puzzle, etc. They're really sticking it to QuickBooks, and I think QuickBooks' response will be they've got to push them faster, quicker, etc. And I think in the same way that Xero probably nudged QuickBooks 10 years ago in the US, probably a similar way that these companies are nudging and sort of poking the QuickBooks bear, which I think will force them to respond much more quickly. So whether or not we will see the same growth rate of these applications, I don't know. My guess is in 2 years' time, that trade show floor at Scaling New Heights will look quite different again.
Great insight there. Now, probably the most exciting question I'll ask you in this whole podcast.
All right.
We're currently in the World Cup. Right. Obviously, you're an Aussie at heart, right?
Yes. Well, I'm an Aussie. Yes.
Yeah. And you're an Aussie at heart, I guess, to win the World Cup, which realistically...
Oh, I'm a realist, though.
Yeah. So have you got another team you're rooting for at the moment?
No, not really. My wife's American, so there's a real rivalry in the house at the moment. I've got to be honest, football's probably not my number one game. One of my son, his best mate is Argentinian, so probably Argentina.
Good chances, what I say. That's not a bad shoot.
But again, just jumping on the bandwagon, and hopefully I'll get an invite to the semi-final watch party at his family's house, because I think there'll be some pretty good barbecue. But no, I don't follow it closely enough. But I'll jump on the bandwagon about the quarterfinals. And delighted that Australia got up 2-0 over Turkey, which I think was a real shock.
Yeah,
to
it's a good game
everyone
as well.
in the soccer world.
Well, thanks so much for joining me on here. It's been I love the insights. Always love catching up.
Appreciate it, Alex. Thank you, man.